Today, Monday, is also the first time that we go back to saying the long version of Tachanun. And that I think deserves a couple of words, maybe even a long version of a tefillah thought. It has been commented that if a non Jew understood the sheer joy of skipping Tachanun, then they would certainly all convert to Judaism as soon as possible. There is something about skipping Tachanun that brings us tremendous joy, and there's something about saying Tachanun that brings us a tremendous sorrow. And I'd like to talk about that just for a couple of minutes because it's such an important part of davening. Now, I know that many of you have no idea what I'm talking about. The reality is that women, for the most part, do not say Tachanun. And although it is meritorious for women to do so, and they could and they should say Tachanun, but the custom of many righteous women is not to say Tachanun. Tachanun certainly is at least started for everyone, for men and for women, as a reshus, as an optional tefillah, but much like Ma'ariv, it has become over time, at least for men, a requirement. But it's something that is so burdensome for us. Tachanun, Tachanun. What is Tachanun? Tachanun is very powerful. Tachanun is a very powerful thing. And I think if we switch the way that we look at Tachanun and the way we say Tachanun, it can become a powerful part of our tefillah. Let's first switch the way that we look at Tachanun. The reality is that having stood before HaKadosh Baruch Hu and feeling like we matter, and feeling like we have an opportunity to stand before the King of the universe and to ask him for the personal things that we need, there's something about that that is absurd. We need to, on the one hand, create that feeling, and we're supposed to be able to do that. We have the opportunity every day to stand up 3 times a day and to have a close encounter, a close conversation, an intimate conversation with the ruler of the world. But there is something about that that is absurd, because at the end of the day, I am not worthy. While I need to feel special and privileged, and I could say, wow, I'm talking to the Ribono Shalom, he cares about what I say, he does. But at the end of the day, that right to speak with him comes with an obligation to recognize that I'm really not worthy. Tachanun is a response to the Shemona Esrei. Tachanun is a necessary response. Yes, there are days where we're not allowed to say Tachanun, but if we're allowed to say Tachanun, we should feel the need to say Tachanun, to fall before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to say, I really wasn't worthy of that opportunity. I'm really not fulfilling my side of the deal now that I just asked you that you should fulfill yours. We should move from Shemona Esrei and fall. It's called Nefilat Apayim. It's a falling. It's the opportunity to be before the king and then to walk out exhausted and to sit down and to say, what just happened? Did that happen to me? I should feel the need, after I daven Shemona Esrei, to put my head down, although again, without a Sefer Torah, we just sit down, to sit down and to say, I can't believe that you're willing to listen to me, to be machshav me. I feel like I haven't been worthy of that. It is a necessary response. It's the conclusion of Shemona Esrei. When I skip Shemona Esrei, when I skip the Tachanun, I should feel like something's missing, a necessary step. I just stood before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I didn't have to admit that I wasn't worthy. I didn't have to think about whether or not I've been keeping my part. Of course, most people don't complain about the regular Tachanun. It's the long Tachanun. It's the Monday and Thursday Tachanun of Vahurachum that really, really gets to us. It's a lot of words. One of the keys to getting through pieces with a lot of words is to say them slowly and in a way that has meaning. To slow down, to stop rushing. The reality is that certainly when one is in a minyan and they keep moving, one doesn't need to say all of Vahurachum. Vahurachum, according to tradition, was written by several different people. There are lots of different stories about how it happened. One of them has several people that were exiled from Bayis Sheni, and they were exiled to Bordeaux, And eventually a ruler came up that made these terrible gzeros, and three of the individuals wrote sections of Vahurachum. Really, it's divided. It's very repetitive. There are three tefillos that are put together. It might interest you to know that my Rebbe, Rabbi Herschel Schechter, only says one of those three every Monday, Thursday, and Monday. It's too long, he says, for him to say with kavana. So on a Monday, he'll say one of them. Then Thursday, he'll say the next piece. And then Monday, he'll conclude Vahurachum. Now, I don't know if Rav Shechter is doing that at home right now. I'm assuming he's not. He's got all the time that he wants to be able to daven the way he'd like to. But it speaks to the fact that it is more important to savor the words and to say them properly than to rush. Why is it that we find things like slichos and we find things like the kinos to be so burdensome? Because we're rushing through them. And there's a stress involved. We're constantly looking and seeing how much is left. You know what I try to do when I am overcome with that? I just try to take a deep breath, slow myself down, try to hear the words coming from my mouth, from my soul. Try to say the words properly. Try to relax. It's difficult to daven well unless I can enjoy the experience of davening, unless I can simply savor the moments that I have to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I should be able at home now to say the whole V'hurachum, but to say it in a way where I'm not rushing anywhere else, because I'm probably not, and to be able to, each time I'm overcome, and by the way, this happens to me there, it happens to me at Shemona Esrei. So much words, so many things. It's amazing what taking a deep breath, stopping for a moment and realizing, relaxing for a moment, and then continuing to say the words in a way that I can enjoy them and I can enjoy the opportunity. The reality is that V'hurachum is one of the most beautiful, powerful, poignant tefillos that we say, whether one is a man or a woman or a child. It's a powerful experience to be able to say those words if I am not the entire time wishing that they would go away, if I'm not for the entire time wishing that it will be a day where I don't need to say Tachanun. Tachanun is a very good thing to focus on in these days where perhaps I have a little more time, where perhaps I'm not trying to catch up with a minion that is saying those words so quickly. Let's enjoy, let's rejoice on the days we say Tachanun and not be sad. One more thought. Maybe part of the reason why we don't enjoy Tachanun is because it speaks of our sins, but that's something we should face. A colleague pointed out that very few people complain on a day we say Hallel in that spot. It takes about the same amount of time to say V'hurachum and to say Hallel, but very few people complain about Hallel. Perhaps it's because we're very excited to celebrate together, but not that excited about looking at ourselves. I'd say halavai that we were concentrating so much in Tachanun that we were really overcome. I think that the key to Tachanun is, number one, to enjoy saying the words, saying them slowly, catching ourselves when we're rushing, catching the tension that we feel in our body and our face when we feel we have so many things to get through. Just taking that deep breath, and without thinking necessarily too deeply about our Averos, to realize that the close encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs to cause us to fall. Nefilas apayim. I try at the end of my Shemona Esrei to fall into the Tachanun position. Again, one doesn't necessarily fall on one's arm if they don't have a Sefer Torah, but to fall to a sitting position, because wow, what an opportunity I've had, and how I clearly need to work on myself if I'm going to deserve those kinds of opportunities in the future. Let's get back to Tachanun today with an appreciation for the beauty of what Tachanun is.